Today we're going to convert TRX 400EX or 400X stock front shocks to these Honda 450R shocks with the reservoir. Okay, so if you want to know how to do this, stay tuned. First, you want to jack the four-wheeler up to get the tires off the ground. Taking off the tire is not necessary, although you can take it off if it will make it more comfortable for you to work on the bike. First thing we're going to want to do is remove this support bracket bolt right here. Now that this bolt has been removed, we want to go ahead and remove the top and the bottom mounting bolts for the shock. Once you remove the nuts from the bolts from the top and bottom, take your foot and put it underneath the tire, or if you have the tire off, support the bottom of the knuckle and push up. And when pushing up, remove the bolt. Now just remove the bottom bolt and remove the stock shock. Okay, now up here where you took that first bolt out, the nut that screws onto it is going to be in the way of the 450R shocks. So this has to be removed, and we're also going to have to grind back a little bit of this metal right here, but it's not anything that's structural, so it'll be fine. I'll show you. I'm going to use an air hammer and a cutting bit. I'm going in here on an angle at it. I'm flush up against it. I'm just going to hit it a few times, and that's pretty much it. It pops it right off of there, and then you can just reach in there like this, and then, see what I mean? It comes right off. So there's that. Okay, so what I did, I just sat the bottom of the 450R shock down in the bottom bracket. I didn't put the bolt in at all, and then up here on top, you can kind of get this where you go to line it up, and you'll see that it's offset a little bit. In order to get the bolt to slide back through there freely, we have to grind just a little bit of this back. Let me pull this out of the way. A little bit of this back right here, and I'm going to show you guys. This is closest towards the motor, and it's this little flared edge right here. Let me grind on that for a second, and then I'll show you just how much I had to grind back off of there. What I'm using is a grinder tool. If you have a cutting wheel or anything like that, like a grinding wheel on the end, that'll work good too. So just use something like that, because doing that by hand is going to be kind of hard. So use something either electric or air. Just going in at an angle right here. Now this is the area we're going to grind right here. Right here at the farthest part back here, like a little bit out from it there, and then a little bit of this wall just at the very top has to go back. You do not have to even come close to grinding this tab all the way back to the actual frame. We're only gonna grind this back about a quarter of the way heading towards the frame, a quarter of the thickness of this. So I mean, it's not much at all. Just a little bit of this has to be relieved, and once you do that, then the shock will slip right in and the bolt hole will line up real easy. Okay, the tools I'm using to do this job, I'm using air tools and a couple hand tools. So I'm using my air ratchet, I'm using my air grinder, I'm using my air hammer, I'm using a metric ratchet set. I needed one 14mm wrench to hold the opposite side of the bolt that goes through the shock towers, tops, you know what I mean? Anyway, I got a grease gun because I'm going to slide these, in the bottom of these shocks, you can slide this pin out, and inside here's what they call needle bearings. Anyway, I'm going to grease this slide pin up before I assemble it onto the bike. Anyway, so I got my grease gun. I'm using ATV Marine because it has water resistance, super heavy duty. I got a little hammer in case I need to bang on a bolt or two. Okay, and I also got to replace the ones that we knocked out up there. What I did was I got some stainless steel. These are 1/4 by 3/4. You really only need 1/4 by 1/2 inch, but they didn't have any. And these are Weathermax, so they won't rust and look all nasty on the bike later on. And then I got locking nuts. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take this here and we're going to put it in there with the Phillip head side where the old existing one used to be. So it's going to go in there this way. And this will give you the clearance you need and still be able to support this bracket. So let me put that together and show you what it looks like. Okay, as you see where I ground this back now, and I have the stainless steel bolt and nut on there. This shorter bolt like that's going to give you the clearance you need, and grinding that, now we'll be able to mount the shock. It'll go right in there and the hole will line up perfectly. So let's go ahead and get the shock mounted on there and see what that looks like. Okay, now that I have the bottom of the shock mounted, we need to line up the top hole. All we're going to do is put our foot back under the tire like we did before. We're going to pick up on this tire on this front knuckle until these holes line up. Should line up really easy. Let's see. Probably could use 2 hands here, but there's that. And that bolt goes through. And see, we have enough clearance now. These actually aren't touching. So we have enough clearance now. We're just going to put this nut back on, and then we're going to tighten everything down, and that's it. That's all you got to do, guys. Now you've successfully put 450R shocks on a TRX 400. So, all right, I hope this helps somebody. Have a good day.